Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Not Your Average Josh again, back here for another movie review, and today I'm reviewing the new movie Fool's Paradise, starring, written, and directed by Charlie Day. New comedy movie that's coming out. I had pretty good amount of interest for, but before we get into this review, I do want to say if you're watching this, hit that like button if you enjoy this video. Also, leave a comment if you have any thoughts on this movie or anything else you want to put down there. Also, hit that subscribe button as well if it's your first time watching any of my videos, or if you're a returning viewer as well. Any support for this channel is very much appreciated. You can also follow me on TikTok and add me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this, but for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. But let's go ahead and get into this review of Fool's Paradise. As I mentioned, Charlie Day has the trifecta in this movie of writing, directing, and starring in this movie. And I will admit, while I was anticipating this movie quite a bit, there was a little bit of trepidation because it's a lot of work to write, direct, and star in a film, even if it is just a simple comedy film. There's a lot of work that goes into that, so there was a little bit of worry with me, like, is this going to turn out to be maybe messy? And if you don't know, this movie is about a fool for love who becomes an accidental celebrity only to lose it all. Very brief description there, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it right from the beginning of this. I did not have too much of a good time with this movie. I do not think it is a bad movie in any way. I just think for me, what this movie was going for, what the director, Charlie Day, wanted, I think the ride he wanted me to go on, I just didn't quite catch that ride in this movie. I was really hoping I was going to really laugh a lot in this movie, have a good time, seemed like an interesting concept. Being called from this movie Latte Pronto, Charlie Day is this man who you never really know much about in this movie. And that's where my negatives, I guess you will say, start with his character. On the surface, it seemed like a very interesting concept. You have this character, Latte Pronto, as they start calling him. You never know his actual name in this movie. They just refer to that in this movie as he becomes famous in Hollywood. And the movie really starts with him in this mental institution. You have these doctors looking over him saying, yeah, I guess he just lost the ability to speak. He's a middle-aged guy and it just lost the ability to speak. And they don't ever mention what his actual identity is. No one knows, which seems kind of crazy because this movie is being played in like modern times. At least that's what I got from it. Again, if you watch this movie, you've seen it all, and that's not what it was, maybe you can tell me about it. For me, it was at least in recent modern times, if it wasn't complete modern times. And so you have this character, Charlie Day's playing, who, like I said, being referred to as Latte Pronto, and he literally can't speak. You don't know why he can't speak the whole movie. You don't know if he has some type of mental condition, what happened to him. You don't know his true identity. Literally, the whole movie, he's basically, it seems almost like a play on Charlie Chaplin in a way, this just miming performance here, non-speaking role. He only has one line in the whole movie. This movie is propelled with whatever's going on around him, and he's just being taken from one place to another, not really understanding why he's in certain scenarios. And he's just this guy who can't speak. You don't ever get to know anything about his backstory. He's just a guy who is just there and just happens to become famous in all these silly, outrageous scenarios. And I could see where they were going for here. It's not like I was completely blind or completely did not understand at all. I could see they're doing a play, almost satirical comedy on Hollywood and how easy and fickle it can be to become famous and how it doesn't really matter who you are as a person. I can see they were kind of playing it that in a way here and just putting in these ridiculous, outrageous scenarios. It's just, for me, that not a lot of the situations weren't that funny. Like, Charlie Day's character, I didn't give a fuck about him because I didn't know shit about him. And so when a lot of situations aren't that funny, it's just hard for me to connect with the movie. And that's just how I felt about this. And I could see watching this that there's going to be people that I'm sure have a great time with this or laugh out loud time. If you're, I think, in the Hollywood business at all, an actor, someone who works on the set, one of these assistants, publicists, whatever, I'm sure there'll be a lot you can relate to and connect to, and it'll be just funny on an internal level, specifically for you in this. But for me, as a person who grew up in Oklahoma, just loves watching movies, and that's why I do these movie reviews and TV reviews and whatnot. There was a disconnect with me here, where I got why some of it should be funny, and I got what they were going for. And there were some funny moments in this movie. There was definitely a few times where I laughed out loud, but honestly, a lot of it, I was just kind of like, man, I was hoping this was going to be more funny. And it was just really disappointing for me because I really do like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, of course. I think this was a little bit of a miss for me personally. Again, I don't know how it's going to quite hit others. One thing I do know, though, is I was the only one in the theater. And yes, it is a Monday night. I live in Oklahoma, and it's 9:30 showtime. So yes, of course, it's going to be hard to pull people in anyway. But I was the only one in the theater, and how I kind of really knew probably how this movie's going to go. I haven't looked at the box office or anything. Yeah, I know it came out about last week, but I was getting my popcorn in line. I think it was either the manager or one of the assistant managers at the theater I was at. He just asked me casually what movie I was going to see, and I said Fool's Paradise. And the way he reacted, he's like, like he didn't know that movie was showing, or that he was surprised that someone was going to it. Either way, and I kind of told him, I was like, yeah, you know, Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia directing it. And he's like, oh, yeah, I might have to go see that one. I really do enjoy it. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And that for me right there just shows that this movie is probably not going to make much money at all. Like if a guy, and he could have been just saying it, but if a guy who really enjoys It's Always Sunny didn't know about this movie or hadn't had a chance to go see it yet, and he works at a damn movie theater, that's not a good sign, you know? And I felt bad in a way, not feeling bad because I don't like the movie. I mean, you know, you're not gonna like movies, but I did just feel bad because I like Charlie Day. And so for me, I'm like, oh man, I really wanted this movie. You want all movies to be good, but I really wanted this one to be funny and good so I could go out and sing its praises. And you have this interesting casting in this movie as well, a lot, kind of very Wes Anderson inspired for me. Like you just have a bunch of well-known actors, famous actors that just pop up in random roles in this movie. And it was kind of fun and zany in that way, but let's be honest, Wes Anderson does the best at doing stuff like that. I mean, you had Adrian Brody in here, obviously he's a recurring character in the Wes Anderson movies. Some of the characters are really interesting, like Jason Sudeikis plays this guy Lex Tanner, who is like this movie director, producer, this really high up there guy. And, you know, he has a nice little funny scene, but like I said, every scene, it's Charlie Day's character, Latte Pronto, as he's referred to, he just, like, anytime the camera be on him, he's literally just, he's not doing, I think, funny enough material with the miming stuff in this movie, I think, if that makes sense. He just, a lot of the time the camera's on him, he's just kind of sitting there, and his eyes will move, and, like, you can see him processing, like, if someone asks him a question or something, but it got kind of old for me, I guess, the shtick of him not talking, and I just didn't find it funny enough, and it just didn't hit me, I guess is what I'm saying. And like I said, there's some entertaining scenes throughout here. A lot of cool people popping up. As I mentioned, Adrian Brody as this guy, Chad Lux, who's this actor playing opposite him in near the beginning of the movie. He was playing this kind of real douchey method type actor. Like Kate Beckinsale was also playing an actress, Christiana Dior, and she ends up actually getting married to Latte Pronto, even though he never says a word to her. And there's a lot of ridiculous stuff, and I get what they're going for. Like, you shouldn't be taking this movie seriously or anything. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset or something, but Ray Liotta in here as this really just over-the-top producer who's always just telling motherfuckers to get him latte. A lot of the characters playing the exact thing you think of when you think about Hollywood. And in that sense, again, I can understand the comedic layers to that, where it's a satire making fun of Hollywood, but also making fun of how people perceive Hollywood in a way. I can see there's a lot of interesting creative ways with that. So that's why I'm not saying it's a bad movie or anything. I just think for me, on the comedy aspect, I just think it was very much lacking for my taste. Comedy is probably the most subjective of all movies. All movies are subjective, but comedy, I mean, it's just going to hit everyone very differently. So again, I know there's going to be some people that probably really do enjoy this movie while also connecting with the funny satirical moments with making fun of Hollywood. Also, again, making fun of the people, how they perceive Hollywood with every producer is like this or every director is like this. Like, it's very funny, like on the surface, you know, just that thought, like, oh yeah, it's very creative, but it's nothing that ever makes me laugh out loud, and I think I was really hoping for that experience. Seeing Ray Liotta, though, in this, it was really cool to see him in another movie. He passed away recently. Really tough to see that. Of course, Goodfellas being what most everyone will know him for. Him being in Cocaine Bear a few months ago, it's not like I dislike Cocaine Bear, but I just thought his character was a little iffy near the end of that movie, and I'm really glad he was able to put in a performance like this, where it just seemed like he was having fun with this movie, though. And that's one thing I'll say. It seemed like everyone was just having a good time with this. It felt like almost like a school play or something, where it was just everyone was coming and playing these zany type characters and just having a good time. So for that, I really do appreciate this movie. And as I said, it just really, for me, it just didn't hit, I think, like the director wanted it to. But there's probably going to be other people that watch this and, like I said, have a good time with it. You had Jason Bateman even pop up in here, just a guy working on the set for one of the special effects tech guys. You had Dean Norris, of course, from Breaking Bad notoriety. He's in this movie as this studio head who comes in and just, again, everyone's playing a caricature of what everyone might perceive these characters to be in Hollywood, which, again, I get that, and I think on the surface that's very funny and very clever and smart. It just wasn't as funny, I think, on the screen for me. Glenn Howerton, of course, he was in It's Always Sunny. It was really cool to see him pop up as his like business manager Latte Pronto's. Common even comes in this movie just to play this random homeless guy who used to be famous, is now a homeless guy. Just a lot of interesting character choices like that, bringing in certain actors to play roles where you're like, wow, this is just really zany and crazy. On a level, like I said, I really appreciate this movie for a lot of the decisions they made, kind of doing outside the box type things. You even have John Malkovich pop up in this movie at a certain point, playing a very John Malkovich type role. Very brief appearance for him, but really, again, overall, this movie just comes down to I really appreciate a lot of the ideas they're going for here. A lot of things on the surface here I thought were funny. When I actually watched the scenes go down, I wasn't laughing as much as I would have hoped to. The shtick, if you want to call it that, of Charlie Day's character just not talking, seemingly having some type of mental condition, and you don't ever really know about his character, it left me not really giving a fuck about him. And then when the movie is not as hilarious or funny as I want it to be, then it just turns into a little bit of a disappointment. And I think that's what this movie ultimately was for me. But that is my main thoughts. I'm going to give Fool's Paradise a 5.5 out of 10. Would have loved to give this a higher rating. There's a lot of things I really appreciate about this movie, but this movie just let me down on a level with the comedy that this movie, is presented as being a comedy first and foremost, and I just wasn't laughing as near as much as I was hoping to. I would definitely be interested in seeing Charlie Day direct more again, though. I think on a technical level, there's really nothing too much to complain about this movie. There were some really beautiful shots here of it seemed like a lot of it shot in the Hollywood, LA area. Interesting ideas again here. This wasn't something where I thought that there was just too much of a workload or something on Charlie Day or anything. Like, I thought he did a good job. He seemed to put the vision forth of what he wanted. It just, for me, just didn't quite work. But what are your guys' thoughts? Have you seen this movie? Do you care to see it? Maybe you haven't got a chance to go out and see it yet. Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment down below. Also, hit that like button if you do enjoy this video, and hit that subscribe button if this is your first time watching any of my videos, or if you're a returning viewer as well. Any support for this channel is very much appreciated. And you can also follow me on TikTok and add me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this. But for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. So again, I appreciate all the support. Be looking for more videos very soon. Fast 10 coming out this week. But that'll be it for now. I will talk to you guys later.